Debate number 1. Opponent presentation to the proposition, Why a BAC of .05 or lower is good for Utah, by Jody Wilson, Aaron Flores, Tom Maples, Travis Eliason, Raquel Umani, and Erica Cortez. The proposition, Utah's .05 BAC is unnecessarily restrictive, will not meet the public safety objectives established, hurts the image of the state, and should be increased. As the opposition, this presentation will dispute this position. The group opposes to the proposition which is being debated in this presentation. Lowering the blood alcohol content to .05 will prevent negative behaviors that are associated with drinking and driving. While the Prohibition era was an important moment in the history of the United States, this issue is not about prohibiting the use of alcohol. It is about reducing the BAC limit from .08 to .05. Although the state of Utah would be the first ones in the United States to take this action, they would not be the first government in the world to implement a BAC of .05. 84.5% of the world's population are living in countries with a BAC of .05 or lower. As of 2015, 34 countries, including Canada, France, Japan, and Australia, have implemented a BAC limit of .05, showing that a BAC of .05 is becoming the international standard. There are a few countries that have a BAC of .02 or .00 and have seen a reduction in fatal accidents by 8 to 12%. These countries have seen a decrease in the number of fatal accidents since lowering their BAC, without placing any undue burdens on their court systems. This is not the first time Utah has led out on lowering BAC. Utah, along with Oregon, was the first state to lower their BAC limit from .10 to .08 in the 1980s. The rest of the United States then followed the example of Utah and lowered their BAC limit to .05. From this change in BAC limit, the nation's rate of alcohol-related traffic deaths decreased by 10%. Utah could once again be ahead of its time and set the example for the rest of the nation when it comes to BAC limit, and reduce alcohol-related fatalities by an estimated 11%. What is impairment and when does it occur? Alcohol impairment is the deterioration of an individual's judgment and decrease in his or her physical ability. Because alcohol is a depressant, it slows down the functions of the central nervous system. This means that normal brain function is delayed, and a person is unable to function normally. When does impairment occur? As this table shows, impairment begins well before someone reaches the current .08 BAC. Inefficiency in performing some tasks may begin at concentrations as low as 0.02%. Impairment begins with the decline in visual functions and the ability to perform two tasks at the same time. The majority of drinkers begin to show measurable impairment at just 0.05%. Most people exhibit some degree of reduced coordination, reduced ability to track moving objects, difficulty steering, and reduced response to emergency driving situations. At 0.08%, muscle coordination becomes poor. Speech, vision, and reaction time are slowed. Judgment, self-control, and reasoning and memory are impaired. The ability to process information and control speed declines. How many drinks cause impairment? Drinks per hour rule. General rule of thumb is that 2 standard drinks in the first hour will raise your BAC to 0.05, and 1 standard per hour thereafter will maintain that level. To do a quick calculation of whether you are over 0.05 BAC, simply take the number of hours since your first drink and add 1 to it. 1 drink equals 1.5 ounces of 80 proof liquor, 40% alcohol, 12 ounces of beer, 4.5% alcohol, or 5 ounces of wine, 12% alcohol. For an average person at 160 pounds, they experience impairment after drinking 2 cans of beer, 2 glasses of wine, or 2 shots of hard alcohol within an hour. It takes relatively little drinking to begin impairment. According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, in 2017 there were 37,133 people killed on our nation's highways. Of those killed, 29%, or 10,874 people, were killed by drunk drivers. That means that every 49 minutes, someone is killed by a drunk driver. Drunk driving is the #1 cause of death on our roadways every year. These statistics do not include the many others who were injured and unable to work, or the millions of dollars in damages caused by these drunk drivers. It does not include the mental and emotional toll taken on families and loved ones of those injured and killed, or the danger that our first responders are put in by being on busy roadways taking care of drunk driving calls. Utah is growing economically and is growing fast. The tourism industry as well has been increasing year by year. In 2016, travelers spent $8.54 billion in Utah, originating $1.25 billion in revenues. 146,500 jobs in 2016. That was a 15% growth in 5 years. Ski resorts as well as national parks have experienced record visitation in the past years. More and more people want to visit the state for its natural resources and entertainment. Furthermore, visitors use hotel services and spend more money on arts, recreation, and restaurants in Utah than ever before. That being said, proponents argue that a BAC of 0.05 affects tourism and the growing economy, but the truth is Utah has always had quirky laws regarding alcohol. Currently, Utah has lower alcohol content on beer and requires a design curtain at all establishments for mixing drinks. Utah also has state-run liquor stores. Even with these unique laws, Utah's tourism continues to thrive. Visitors come for a variety of reasons, and our alcohol laws have not been a deterrent. A BAC of 0.05 or lower protects all people in Utah, including tourists, who want to feel safe while visiting, and this law offers that. Furthermore, when people go abroad, they usually get informed about the laws and the rules of the places they're visiting, so Utah should not be an exception. Tourists can adapt to the state and local rules. Further, proponents also argue that people don't adhere to the law, and by lowering the BAC, it will impact social drinkers again. This law is not about alcohol, it is about changing behavior to keep Utah's roads safe. Bottom line, a BAC of 0.05 and lower is a feasible law. Will keep everybody safe and happy to continue enjoying the state. Benefits of reducing BAC levels. In 2017, a comprehensive independent research study showed that from 1982 to 2014, in 50 states and DC, lowering BAC from 0.10 to 0.08 resulted in a 10.4% reduction in alcohol-related fatalities. This means that lowering the BAC to 0.08 in the U.S. has saved 1,736 lives annually. This makes a total of 24,868 lives saved from 1983 to 2014 just by lowering the BAC to 0.08. It is estimated that a 0.05 or lower BAC would result in an 11.1% decline in fatal alcohol crashes and save 1,790 lives annually in the United States. This indicates that limiting alcohol consumption in fact helps to reduce alcohol-related fatalities and save lives. There are many alternatives to drinking and driving, as well as options to help keep everyone safe. First, if you're drinking, leave driving out as an alternative. Plan out how you will get home while you are still sober. Second, taxis and other ride-sharing services such as Uber or Lyft are an excellent way to get home safely. Third, if someone you know has been drinking and has intentions to drive, don't allow it. Find them another ride or call an Uber. And finally, if you witness an impaired driver on the road, contact local authorities ASAP. First for the safety of the public, but also for the safety of the individual. As you can see in this final slide, there's a long list of supporters. However, there are several groups who benefit directly from the sale of alcohol that do not approve. They are beverage companies and a variety of restaurants. Perhaps they predict a decline in sales or are worried people won't choose to shop or attend those places simply because it mostly requires driving to get to these destinations. However, as mentioned in the presentation, there are alternatives and ways that drinkers can get around safely and still give business to these places. It just has to be planned out accordingly.